Throughout my whole childhood, high school days, college days, and even now as a professional, everybody has always told me what I can and can't do. Always. I've always taken it personal. No, impossible, can't, won't. I call those wood words. Throw them on my fire. I'm Arian Foster, running back, Houston Texans, and this is my story.
Touchdown, Arian Foster, rock and roll.
Finally, after a lifetime of doubters, critics, I proved them all wrong. 2010 was my year.
He got the touchdown.
18 total touchdowns, 1,616 rushing yards. I led the National Football League in rushing.
He's a slasher. He does have the power to run someone over, but he makes that one cut, and it's fun to watch because you see those guys grabbing at air when they're trying to tackle him.
You might think twice about tackling him. I tackled him a couple times, but it was rough. It was like running into an 18-wheeler.
My success on the field didn't come overnight. It was filled with dreams, touchdowns, fumbles, highs, lows, California, Tennessee, and an NFL draft that never was. But it started in New Mexico. Albuquerque, New Mexico. This is where I was born, August 24th, 1986. I'm the youngest of 3 children and grew up in a multicultural household. My father is African-American and my mother is Mexican-American.
Their dad and I tried to give them a really strong feeling about who they were, identifying with both cultures as much as possible.
We were never really black enough. We were never really, Hispanic enough.
I remember one time, a guy told me, he said, "You know what a mayate is?" And I was like, "Nah, what is that?" And he said, "Go home and ask your mom what it is." And she told me what it meant, and it's a Mexican word for calling a black person a nigger. And so the next day, I walk up to him and I punch him.
His mother and I both took the same approach: be yourself. Don't let anybody change you. Don't let anybody attempt to make you feel bad for who you are.
My father, Carl Foster, played wide receiver for the University of New Mexico in the late 1970s and had a tryout with the Denver Broncos. By the age of 7, I started playing youth football and fell in love with the game. In 7th grade, one of my teachers asked us what we wanted to be when we grew up. Kids were giving answers like doctor, like lawyer, veterinarian. I said, I want to play in the NFL. I remember the teacher said, well, what else do you want to do? And I was like, why are you asking me what else I want to do? Why didn't you ask the doctor or the lawyer what else they wanted to do? And she's like, well, that's just not a very realistic goal. I said, why not? My teacher doubted me. And I don't even remember her name. It was the beginning of me proving people wrong. In this off-season, I shared my experience with some students entering high school. How's everybody doing today? When you're talking with kids, I think you should encourage dreams, not demean them. There's always gonna be somebody that says you can't do something. And usually that somebody didn't do what they wanted to do with their life. I tell kids all the time, man, don't listen to adults.
I saw several teachers' jaws drop when Ari had made the comment about don't listen to adults.
Just speak out.
He's referring back to the people that told him he couldn't do it. And he's telling these kids you can.
In 2000, I was a freshman at Valley High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was determined to make varsity as a running back.
His freshman and sophomore years in Albuquerque, they made it very clear that they didn't think he was running back material.
The coaches thought I was too small, too slow. But after several running backs on the varsity squad got hurt, I got my opportunity, and I didn't disappoint. I broke a school record for rushing. I was really excited, and I remember the coach coming up, and he's saying, we still don't feel like you're running back material. While I was in high school, my mother and father divorced. My dad moved to San Diego, and I went with him.
Boys get to a certain age where they need to be with their dad, and so that's kind of what we both had agreed.
Arian came here his junior year of high school. We knew nothing about him. And to be honest with you, we were such great coaches, we started him at outside linebacker when he first came. Once you saw him as a running back, you saw how special he was, so it didn't take long for us to put him in there.
My senior season in San Diego, I rushed for 2,093 yards and had a total of 30 touchdowns. Colleges took notice. I felt like I was an elite running back. I wanted to go prove myself in the Southeastern Conference. I chose the University of Tennessee. In 2005, I rushed for almost 900 yards and scored 5 touchdowns as a freshman. But my sophomore year, it was another story. It was running back by committee, and I rushed for less than 300 yards. And then came the Outback Bowl against Penn State. I had a costly fumble in the third quarter that they took back for a touchdown.
Back to the ground with Foster. Ball's loose. Penn State has it. Are you kidding?
There are writers and there are people today that still talk about me and talk about my fumble and my fumbles. It's amazing because how could you have that much animosity towards an 18-year-old kid?
I think Arian had some unfair heat. I know this. I never questioned his ability to carry a football team and our running game on his back.
I took a lot of heat and criticism. My attitude, I'm gonna bounce back my junior year.
Touchdown, Arian Foster.
And I did. In 2007, I rushed for almost 1,200 yards and scored 14 touchdowns.
At the end of his third year at Tennessee, he probably would have been maybe the 50th player picked in the draft. And then he goes back for his last year at Tennessee.
I met my girlfriend after my junior year. I had a little daughter. So if I would have came out my junior year, that means I wouldn't have the most important thing in my life right now, which is my daughter and my girlfriend. My senior year was one of the worst years in the University of Tennessee's storied history. Again, my carries dropped. I fell out of favor with coaches. I felt I was misunderstood. I rushed for only 570 yards and scored 1 touchdown.
When the injuries happened to other people on the team, but particularly to Arian, he wasn't able to participate, and we didn't have nearly the performances that we expected to have.
I had a real bitter taste in my mouth leaving the University of Tennessee. My attitude was just, like, I didn't care. In 2009, following my senior season, I entered my name into the NFL draft. I wasn't expecting to go the first 2 days. You know, I know the process. And finally, the 7th round comes, and somebody at the Seattle Seahawks called me, and they said, how do you feel about being picked? And I was so upset at the time, and this is really bad. I was so upset at the time that my attitude was like, yeah, man, you know, that'd be okay, yeah. And I wouldn't have picked me either, honestly. When the draft ended, it felt like my NFL dreams did too.
When he's coming out as a senior, there are not a lot of people saying a lot of good things about him, but we saw a guy who would be a really good fit in our offensive scheme because he has one-cut ability, he has lateral quickness, he has speed.
The Houston Texans invited me to their training camp. So they put me on practice squad, and that kind of sparked me. Then, in the last 4 games of that season, I got my chance to be an NFL running back.
Foster to the left, keeps breaking tackles and driving forward and in for a touchdown.
I just remember thinking, take that, you know, take that. Because everything that I had been through up to that point was just, man, it was an emotional roller coaster. I was so motivated. That off season, I trained day and night with my brother Abdul.
He just wasn't in the best shape, so you know, I kind of looked at it and said, all right, you know, we're going to make sure Arian's in great condition, better than anybody out there.
Let's face it, Foster in his first year in the NFL on the practice squad and then at the end of the year was never totally healthy. If he could get fully healthy and he could put on a coat of armor working out in the off season, he was going to have a chance to be a great NFL running back.
Week 1, 2010, facing the Indianapolis Colts.
Touchdown, Arian Foster! Exclamation point!
I had the best game of my life.
Arian Foster, his 3rd touchdown of the day.
I bow in the end zone to greet the football world and the football gods and the football fans. I respect this game and I love this game. I finished the day with 231 yards, 3 touchdowns, and most importantly, the Texans win. It was emotional, man. It just showed myself that hard work pays off. I finished the season with 1,616 rushing yards, the highest total for any undrafted man that has ever played in this league. Finally, putting some of my doubters to rest, I made my first Pro Bowl and proposed to the love of my life. A little nervous, you know, you got a little nerves, you know. About 90% sure she's gonna say yes.
Wow.
Will you allow me to walk the rest of this life with you?
I can't even remember everything he said. I just looked at him and that's why he wanted to question.
That's wonderful, so I went through all that for nothing. I've been truly blessed. I have a wonderful wife and a beautiful daughter. Hello, people.
Hello, people.
This season, doubts have resurfaced. There's been an injury and controversy surrounding it.
After leaving this past Saturday's preseason game with an injury to his left hamstring, the Houston Texans star actually tweeted, "This is an MRI of my hamstring. The white stuff surrounding the muscle is known in the medical world as anti-awesome."
I think I have kind of a crooked sense of humor. So I was just trying to make light of a bad situation. There's a time and place for everything, and looking back at it, I was probably wrong. In 2011, it's time to prove to everyone that I belong in this league, and prove this is just the beginning.